Morning, church. Morning. Sound a bit loud. Am I a bit loud? Okay, right. Well, I want to share with you today some thoughts I've titled The Blessing of Encouragement. I prepared this meeting before going on holiday, and one morning I'd prayed asking God to confirm it was the topic He wanted to speak about. And that same morning, Anne posted the following message on the church chat. And it said, God's remedy for doubt flows out of the encouragement of fellow Christians. Encouragement has the wonderful effect of lifting despair and bolstering faith. Kind words, offers of prayer, joyful spirit-filled worship, and loving time spent encouraging one another, all are effective in defending against those nagging doubts that push us from God rather than nudge us closer and closer to Him. That was such an encouragement to me that morning, as I'm sure you can appreciate. And it was confirmation for me from God that that's what He wanted me to share with you today. So I'm going to talk about encouragement, and hopefully we're all going to leave here encouraged. Okay? So I read this quote a while ago, and it said, encouragement should be the language we speak. This made me think, if encouragement was a language, how fluent would I be? How fluent would you be? Would we just about be able to communicate with one another, say the odd phrase? Or would we be fluent and able to converse no problem at all? Think for a moment how many people you have in your life that encourage you. There may be many, there may not. However, do you take the time to intentionally encourage others? Stop for a moment and think. When was the last time you took the time to encourage somebody else? We should never underestimate the power of building and creating an encouraging atmosphere around us. The way we speak is a choice, and sadly, many people undervalue the power of their words. We live in a world that can be very discouraging, especially at the moment. So to start today, I want to share some things that have encouraged me lately. And hopefully some of these have also encouraged you. I've been really encouraged to see Becky and the others start the Sunday school again for the children, as it's so important for those children to learn about Jesus at a young age and come to know Him as their own special friend. When Sunday school stopped, I found it really hard, I'll be honest, but I'm so glad to see it back. I've been encouraged to see some of the young women, Becky, Jo and Tyler, got together and they stepped up and organised an event for the ladies so we can encourage each other as we grow in our faith. And I know they plan to arrange more. That's fantastic. I've been encouraged to see others take responsibility for faith builders over the last few years, taking series instead of it being down to Amy or myself. And I'm sure she's felt just the same as that, because it used to be me and Amy who did it every week. Jacob came to the last Tuesday together, and that really encouraged me. And we were asked at that meeting to send text messages that were put up on the screen of blessings that we'd received that week. A few had put that they were blessed to see Jacob there. And where I was sat, I could see his face when he read those messages, and you could see he was so encouraged to see that people had said they were glad to see him. I'm encouraged every week by the volunteers who turn up week after week at Manor House to serve there, and all those who work behind the scenes in different ways with the events throughout the week and the different events that are put on for members there and their children. Only last week I was really encouraged to receive a message from Stacey, Nathan's wife, my nephew. Their son Joe is such a quiet lad. But while they'd been on holiday, he'd ordered himself a Bible. And when they came back from holiday, he got this Bible that had come. They never knew he was going to order it. They hadn't seen him read a Bible. But apparently all the time on holiday, he'd been reading the Bible on one of the Bible apps. That was so encouraging. And I was really encouraged last week to hear Carol share honestly with church about how she sometimes struggles, even though she's been a Christian for many, many years. She sometimes struggles to read the Bible and pray still. That's so encouraging, because I'm sure many of us have been and are in that position regularly. I could go on and on and on. But I hope you're getting what I'm trying to get at here. There's so many things to encourage us. I've talked about some things that encourage me, but I do find myself getting easily discouraged. For example, I can get discouraged by the lack of interest or attendance to attend the church prayer meetings or Tuesdays together. Now, I don't want to discourage you by standing here and doing a load of discouragements. That's not what it's about. But I wonder, how easily do you get discouraged, especially with things at church? You see, while encouragement builds people up, discouragement brings people down. And I wonder if the environment in your home or work or wherever you spend your time during the week is one of encouragement or discouragement at the moment. What part are you playing in that atmosphere? Do people see a different attitude in you? Are you actively encouraging others, or have you joined the discouragement team? The dictionary describes encouragement with phrases like to hearten, to inspire with hope, to put courage in. See, when we think about God's potential and purpose in our lives, we know His will for us is not to live in discouragement. He wants us to be uplifted and to know the power of courage. There's several verses in the Bible that we can refer to that talk about encouragement. Proverbs 10 verse 21 says, the lips of the righteous feed many. And you might think, well, what's that got to do with encouragement? But you could say from that verse, there's nourishment in encouragement. Are you nourishing others at the moment? Encouragement will nourish you and enliven potential within you and the person you encourage. Proverbs 16 verse 24, pleasant words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the bones. When you receive encouragement, it does you good, doesn't it? Many of us struggle at times with insecurity and self-doubt, and for some people it's worse than others. By speaking encouraging words to others, we're helping them win their own personal battle with the enemy. Proverbs 25 verse 25, as cold water to a weary soul, so is good news from a far country. We all know what a glass of ice cold water feels like when we're thirsty. That's the sort of feeling that good news or encouragement can give you. 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 11 specifically says, just a simple little verse, encourage one another and build each other up. We should be actively encouraging one another and building each other up in our faith. Yes, there are times when we need correction or discipline, but we don't need to discourage one another. Ephesians 4 verse 29, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. You know what a different world we would have if everybody did just that. To only speak words that are helpful in building up and benefiting those who listen. I just want to share 4 more quotes I found on encouragement that really spoke to me. The first one, encouragement breaks the bonds of limitations and loosens the cords of possibility. Think of the difference it makes to you when you are encouraged in something. It can give you the strength to move forward and accomplish much more than you would have without it. Think about the difference that your words of encouragement could therefore make to others. The next one, encouragement is a language that negativity does not understand. God wants us to be positive, not negative people. When we encourage one another, we're being positive. I love the next one. It says encouragement is an investment into someone else's future. I love that thought. If we encourage one another, it's an investment into our future. Think of the input that you could have into someone's life just by being prepared to encourage them. And the last one, encouragement changes the premise and rewrites the narrative. Your life story can be written to a different theme. You hear of stories, don't you, where people's whole lives have changed because of words of encouragement they received when they were younger. People who chose a totally different path because someone took the time to encourage them. You know, when I was thinking about who in the Bible we could look at who was an encourager, I immediately thought about Paul. Paul was in prison when he wrote a letter, when he wrote a lot of his letters to the churches that we can read of in the New Testament. Yet he was such an encouragement to many people. And the letters he wrote then have been such an encouragement to many Christians over the years. He could have sat in prison and felt sorry for himself, had his own little pity party and basically given up on his faith. But his faith was proved through the circumstances he was in, and he was and is such an encouragement to others. Let's read about it in Acts 16, verses 25 to 34. It says, about midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were listening to them. Suddenly there was such a violent earthquake that the foundations of the prison were shaken. At once all the prison doors flew open and everyone's chains came loose. The jailer woke up, and when he saw the prison doors open, he drew his sword and was about to kill himself because he thought the prisoners had escaped. But Paul shouted, "Don't harm yourself, we're all here." The jailer called for lights, rushed in and fell trembling before Paul and Silas. He then brought them out and asked, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" They replied, "Believe in the Lord Jesus and you will be saved, you and your household." Then they spoke the word of the Lord to him and to all the others in his house. At that hour of the night, the jailer took them and washed their wounds. Then immediately he and all his household were baptised. The jailer brought them into his house and set a meal before them. He was filled with joy because he had come to believe in God, he and his whole household. How amazing is that? Paul and Silas was in prison singing praises to God in such difficult circumstances. But now at the end of verse 25, they were singing and praying and the prisoners were listening to them. You see, Paul and Silas exercised the power of joy in the midst of really difficult circumstances. They'd every right to feel discouraged. They'd had their clothes torn off. They'd been beaten with rods and been thrown into jail, and they'd done nothing wrong. In that depressing and discouraging situation, they expressed a supernatural joy evidenced by their praying and singing. Their joy couldn't have been a natural response because there was nothing in the natural to be joyful about. However, as a result of seeing firsthand the supernatural joy of Paul and Silas, the jailer and his family were saved. You know, church, people are watching us every day. They're watching us and they're listening to us as we go about our lives, especially if they know we're Christians. Wouldn't it be an encouragement for those of you who are Christians if more people in your life were to receive the salvation that waits for them because you truly began to express the joy of yours? My prayer for our church is that it would be an environment where people are built up and encouraged, a place where we leave feeling better than when we came in. Jesus is the ultimate encourager, and we're called to be imitators of him. Surely then, encouragement should be the language that we speak. So why not take it upon yourself to practice encouraging others and determine in your heart that you will help others see what a blessing they truly are? I'll ask again, what are the people around you hearing from you at the moment? Words of encouragement or words of discouragement? Is your faith being proved in your current circumstances like Paul and Silas's was? Do people see you as an encourager or a discourager? Proverbs 3 verse 27 says, "Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in the power of your hand to do so." Encouragement is good, and to be honest, we've all got encouragement in our hands. We've all got the power to encourage others. But I wonder, let's be real, Are you ever prompted to encourage somebody else but you don't follow through with it? You may have the attitude, well, why should I? They never encourage me. I don't get much encouragement from others, so why should I encourage somebody else? Remember that verse? You've got the power to encourage other people, and you should do so regardless of whether or not you get it back. Luke 6 verse 31 simply says, do to others as you would have them do to you. Don't underestimate the power in your hands to reverse the condition of somebody else's spirit, to build them up and to speak words of life, to encourage them to be all that God has created them to be. My prayer is that we would all know the blessing of encouragement in all areas of our lives, but especially at church. You know, sometimes we don't do enough of that at church. We need to experience the power of being encouraged and the power of extending encouragement to others. So I want to challenge you this week to get practical. I'm going to give you a little bit of homework. And you might choose to take me up on it, or you might choose just to ignore me. But here we go. Over the next 7 days, I want you to go out of your way each day to encourage somebody else. It may be directly speaking to them, or it may be sending them an encouraging message. Somebody in your life, it may be somebody who's a family member, it may be somebody at work, it may be somebody at church. It might even be telling somebody something encouraging when you're doing your shopping, wherever. But just make that effort to do something, tell somebody something encouraging over the week. Don't get discouraged if you don't get any words of encouragement yourself. Think about the joy that you will be bringing to those to whom you speak or you send a message to. Remember Proverbs 3 verse 27, do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in the power of your hands to do it. So will you take up the challenge to encourage somebody in your life this week? Or will you just ignore me? I challenge you to take it up. A reminder of that quote that Anne shared, like I say, that was so encouraging to me. God's remedy for doubt flows out of the encouragement of fellow Christians. Encouragement has the wonderful effect of lifting despair, bolstering faith. Kind words, offers of prayer, joyful spirit-filled worship, and loving time spent encouraging one another, all are effective in defending against those nagging doubts that push us from God, rather than nudge us closer and closer to Him. I hope what you've heard from me today has been encouraging, and I want to encourage you to get out there and start encouraging other people in your life. Who knows what impact your words will have for the kingdom? Thank you for listening.